since the finale.
Nice.
Where people are going to start watching Supernatural for the first time in pretty larger numbers than I think we've been seeing since the finale. In which case, here's a great podcast to listen to.
We're amazing, you guys.
If you're listening to this, you're already here, but I'm just saying, if you have friends who are watching for the first time, recommend our show.
We have so many opinions. We're so funny.
Carmen is wearing her dress that she wore to the dinner. Jess is wearing like a sweater. Like, Jess is not dressed up, but Carmen she's wearing the same dress that she wore to the fancy dinner.
Well, maybe Jess got cold.
And then I was like, why isn't Carmen somebody dead or someone that we know? We're gonna find out at the end of the episode who Carmen is. But like, why isn't she someone that Dean cares about? Mary is trying to talk Dean into staying, even though it's literally gonna kill him, and he wants all of this so badly. I'm pretty sure this is the first episode that has the fundamental question of why is it our job to save everyone, but it's definitely not the last.
It's a question that shows up a lot, and I see why.
It definitely does.
Their life can be very, very taxing and frustrating.
It might have been like a kind of undertone to some of the other episodes, but this is the first episode where like it's asked multiple times by multiple people in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, why is it always us? And there is an answer. We're just not going to learn it for another 13 years.
Probably because they hadn't created it yet.
Yeah, I feel like Eric kind of always knew where things were going, somewhat, in this respect. I think Eric kind of knew. Maybe not to the extent that things evolved to, but I think Eric definitely had an idea in seasons 4 and 5, for sure. Maybe not this early, but...
At least someone did.
Yeah. Dean does wake up, like, he stabs himself, and it wakes him up, and Sam is there for real, and Dean is tied up and being fed on, and he makes another Wizard of Oz reference. He calls Sam Auntie M, and says there's no place like home. Dean's really funny in this episode. I mean, Dean's always really funny, but he's really killing it.
How did Sam react to that? It's like, oh, he's delirious.
Sam was too busy, like, being concerned that Dean's bleeding out to even care that he made a silly joke.
You know, that's fair. Too bad, because it was such a good joke.
And then he immediately pretty much gets in a fight with the Djinn, so he doesn't have time, because Sam's then immediately fighting for his life.
It's fine.
But Dean stabs the Djinn, like, just before he can also poison Sam. And the other girl, the girl in the white, is still alive, so they take her to a hospital. Back at the motel, Carmen is revealed to be a model in an El Sol beer ad in a magazine that Dean's been reading. And I think it's supposed to be like Corona. There's a type of beer called Sol, but every ad of this made me think of the Corona brand. This is also really important because Dean was drinking it in the lawn mowing scene, and we're gonna see this El Sol brand a few more times, but you only see them drinking this El Sol in AU type episodes. 99% of the time they drink this other beer called Marjakugel, and it's the TV version of Leankugel. I don't think I said that correctly.
That's alright.
I don't know what that is.
It's a German beer.
This means nothing to me.
But yeah, like they always drink like the beer in the like darker colored bottles in their like real life, and then in like AU episodes they drink this El Sol, which comes in a clear bottle. It's like a light colored beer.
That's a cool detail. I never noticed that before.
I've seen it a few times, and it is a beer that obviously exists in their world, but it's just not a beer that they drink usually. We'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll have to keep tabs on the beer.
Beer watch.
Just to see if this El Sol comes up in an episode where it's actually them, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Sam says that the hospital called and the girl's gonna make it, so they did save her. And Dean's like telling Sam a little bit about this, and Sam's like, I thought it was supposed to be a perfect fantasy, and Dean's like, it was not perfect. It was just a wish for our mom to have never died, so they never like became like really close. And Sam's like, I'm glad that we do, and that most people wouldn't have had the strength to pull themselves out like Dean did. And Dean's like, well, I wanted to stay, and I wanted you and Jess to be like together, and I wanted our mom alive and to have grandkids, and ever since our dad died, the only thing I can think about is how much the jobs cost us. And Sam's like, it's worth the sacrifice and the pain, and it's not fair, but the people they've saved are worth it. And this is very like upbeat for Sam lately. Sam's been really down in the dumps lately about things, and this is a very upbeat take for Sam.
Oh, maybe he was having a good day.
I mean, I don't know how it could have possibly been a good day since his brother got kidnapped and almost killed, but okay.
I mean, like, depression-wise.
Depression-wise, I guess. Yeah, he's having a good day. You'd think he'd be a little bit bit more sad given the many, many mentions of his dead girlfriend.
Yeah.
Usually that bumps him out. Usually even the mere mention of Jess really just gets to him. But you know what, Sam? Good for you. We can't really afford to have both of them in a bad mood anyways. But yeah, the episode just kind of ends there with them just being like, wow, our lives kind of suck, but at least we save people so that their lives suck less.
Very deep.
Yay!
Yay!
Fun times. So we're gonna go into our weekly segments and panels. We're gonna start with death count. This week we saw no deaths except for the Djinn. Like all other deaths were off screen or not real, keeping our on screen total at 190. And the on and off screen total for this episode was 2 that we could confirm, which are the 2 dead people from the closet / the ruins. So that brings the on and off screen show total to 1,320 plus. There's probably some more that we didn't see, but we could really only confirm those 2.
Yeah.
So MVP of the week. Let's see who Meredith would like to nominate.
I don't know, I might split it between the boys because, like, I don't know, Sam was doing like all the monster work, but like Dean was the one who was in this alternate universe and had strength to leave.
Yeah, you had to do that whole feat of strength to get out of it.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you?
I'm gonna go with Dean. I think, like I said, Dean getting out of there.
Jordan, how about you?
I'm gonna go with Dean as well.
Me too. It wasn't even a question. To pull yourself out of a fantasy like that is such an immense feat of strength. Like, just really gave it to him. I did respect Sam's 7 books open though, but
Oh yeah, it must have been so hard to leave. Like we saw how hard it was, but like emotionally.
Dean could have just died in the dream, and then also Dean saved Sam like within seconds of getting out of the dream state. Like Sam arrived to save Dean, and he only halfway saved Dean, and then he immediately almost got himself killed, and Dean had to save him. So I just gave it. Usually I'm a splitter, especially when there's an opportunity to split between the boys. But I'm gonna stow my Sam favoritism for a week.
Aw,
It's possible.
We're very proud. You're strong too.
Bechdel test. Did we have 2 named women in this episode? Yeah, we
Yes.
did.
Yes.
We had Mary, we had Jess, we had Carmen. We were good. Did they talk to one another? They sure did.
Yep.
Was the conversation about something other than a man?
Maybe there might have been something at dinner, but
They
it
talked about
didn't-
Jessica and Sam's engagement.
No, he was involved. He's a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last I checked.
So when Dean asked to talk to Sam alone for a minute, Carmen and Jess went into the other room together to hang out. So there probably was something. We just followed the wrong pair. But this one didn't pass the Bechdel test,
Oh
technically.
no, so close.
So close. We had 3 women, and they were all named. We were so ahead of the game. This week's case of the week was a Djinn, and the episode identified that they came from Islamic texts, specifically the Quran. Meredith, do you have some more information for us?
I do. So, Djinn are pre-Islamic Arabic creatures who were later adapted into Islam. Djinn is the plural, and the singular is genie with an I on the end. It's likely that I'm not pronouncing any of this correctly. Stories of Djinn are very old, and their exact origins are unclear, but we know they're Middle Eastern. We think that they used to be worshipped as gods or demigods. However, worshipping the Djinn is prohibited in the Quran, so it's not common anymore. In Islam, they're more like minor spirits, different from the angels and demons.
Sam did say that they ate people a lot, so I can see why they were like, don't worship them. See why they put that boundary in place.
I actually didn't see anything about eating people, but they had to put something in supernatural. Djinn are typically invisible, which is very funny because of the divas we saw in an earlier episode. They have a number of powers and abilities, including shape-shifting into many different forms, such as humans, snakes, lizards, or scorpions. They could also possess people. They were associated with protection too, and some people wore talismans with Djinn on them to ward off danger. But then Djinn also inflicted illness and harm on those who wronged them. So you never knew what you were getting with Djinn because they were a lot like humans. They made choices as individuals, not a species. They were capable of both good and evil, right and wrong, being Muslim and not Muslim. That was pointed out. They could, have religion. They were like humans in other ways too, because they had their own culture with tribes and kings. They also occasionally had relationships and children with humans. Djinn typically lived in hiding in deserts and desolate places. So the creepy old warehouse in this episode checks out. Actually, based on my extremely limited knowledge, I think it's the most accurate thing here. They didn't really grant wishes, though. At least not that I can see.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. The trope exists elsewhere in folklore, though, notably with like fairies and czarfish, which is like a whole genre of fairy tales. I'm assuming the trope is associated with Djinn because of the story of Aladdin. Aladdin and the Wonderful Lamp is definitely the most famous story involving Djinn in the Western world. The story involves two Djinn who use magic to grant Aladdin's wishes. One lives in a ring, and the other, more powerful genie, lives in the titular lamp. The story is usually included in 1001 Nights, a collection of Middle Eastern folktales compiled in the Islamic Golden Age, which took place from the 8th to the 14th centuries. However, we're not 100% sure where the story of Aladdin came from because it wasn't a part of the original collection and was first added by a French translator in the 1700s. And according to his diary, he got the story from a Syrian Maronite storyteller, but that's hard to prove. So the thing about Djinn granting wishes is kind of shady and confusing and hard to trace. So it's all up in the air at this point.
I did not know any of that. That was all new information for me.
In conclusion, no one in the Western world knows what real Djinn are, including me. And the thing about Aladdin really bugs me because I study history in school and I want citations.
I mean, people who collected those like fairy tales and folk tales from various parts of the world, they were always just like collecting them and not citing sources. That was kind of their deal.
It was, yeah. You see it in so many different cases and cultures.
Grimm Brothers,
and,
I'm looking at you.
Grimm Brothers did other stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll give them that much.
What do we do next? I forgot how to run my own podcast. It's fine. Anyone else have anything they want to talk about with mythology? I really like how they portrayed the Djinn in Supernatural. I think it's very fun. I like the look that they gave them. I like how it is later when they've like refined it a little bit. Mm-hmm. The glowing blue hand, I was like thrown off by. I'm like, I don't remember that.
Aesthetically pleasing though. I always like glowing blue stuff.
They really refined this in later seasons, but I really liked the look and the vibe that they were going for. I was very into it.
Interesting, yeah.
I like this take on it with like the wish is granted but only like in your mind. Like I like the part of like the traditional genie folklore where it's like, yeah, you get what you want, but it always turns out wrong. Like your wish never goes how you think it will. I love that. I think this is like a fun little take on this.
I like how they included that like as part of the story, because especially because it's so different from Aladdin. Because like Aladdin always got exactly what he asked for.
Yeah, exactly.
The way he expected it to be. The Djinn weren't really developed beyond that point.
So I guess we'll move on to highlight and lowlight, and we'll start with Nick. What was your lowlight and your highlight?
I guess the lowlight was the fact that Dean had to try to unalive himself to get out of the dream. The highlight was just him seeing Mary again. Yeah,
those are good. Jordan, how about you?
Highlight is John Winchester is dead in both universes.
Yay!
Fine, we don't need him.
What was he gonna do for us anyways, honestly?
I know, honestly.
Give us pain.
Lowlight, probably that Sam and Dean were not close in this universe.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
It's sad.
Meredith, how about you?
Lowlight, I'm going to start with that. It's the same as Jordan's that, you know, Sam and Dean didn't have a good relationship in this particular universe because, like, their relationship is the driving force of the show.
Yeah, especially in these early seasons. Like,
yeah, definitely, because we don't have as many other characters yet, and we're just focusing on them. Highlight is the scene of Dean, like, mowing the lawn. I feel like when people think of this episode, they usually think of that scene because it's like it's so much fun, and it's one of the things that really highlights like how different Dean's life has been because he's so excited to mow the lawn.
I love that scene.
Yeah, my low light, it's pretty minor, but Carmen. I get the angle that they're going for to have this girl be a complete nobody to Dean, but there are characters that we could have had here. Like I said, I was immediately reminded of Lisa, even though we haven't actually met her. We all know I'm in love with Cassie Robinson. This would have been a perfect moment to have Cassie back.
Yeah, actually, that was my argument against Lisa, that like we haven't seen her yet. She doesn't have any significance, but Cassie would have been a really good option.
Yeah, like we could have just had any other character. Also, any other woman we've seen Dean with in the last 2 seasons. Like, there's been like one-off romances, and like at least someone he like actually knew. Like he's just fantasizing with this like girl from a beer ad, and I'm just like, can we give him something meaningful?
Yeah, I think Cassie would have been the best option.
Mary and Jess are here. here, and they're both, like, dead, like, is the thing. And then Carmen's, like, the only other person that's, like, important in Dean's, like, fake life, and she's just, like, someone he doesn't even know. It just seems like not the same amount of significance. Also, I just want Cassie back.
Fair. I mean, that's understandable.
My highlight is the very end of the episode when Sam and Dean soldier their way through a very touching and meaningful conversation. They can't get all the words out because they're too manly for emotions.
Toxic masculinity.
Yeah, we love to see it.
But they're trying to have a conversation. And I'm really, really glad that Sam acknowledges that he values that they are really close, like he values their close relationship, and that he sees how strong Dean had to be in this episode and in this season to get out of that. Like, Sam makes a point of saying it out loud to Dean's face that it must have taken such strength to do that. And I was glad to see Sam acknowledging Dean is a strong character for once. Our next one is call CPS. Time some adults should be calling CPS, particularly on Sean. John was not here this episode, and